Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast. It's an emergency podcast, and it's brought to you by walk-ons. There's 3 walk-ons in the Tampa Bay area, one in Lakeland, another in Wesley Chapel, and a third in Midtown Tampa, not too far from Raymond James Stadium where the Bucs play. They have awesome happy hour deals, a great assortment of drinks, and fantastic appetizers from the wings to the fries, everything that you can have with all the TVs to watch your favorite sports over at Walk-On. So eat like a winner and drink like a champ over at Walk-Ons. If you're wondering why we're doing an emergency podcast while we're still in Mobile, Alabama, it's because the Bucs have hired a couple of assistant coaches that we're going to react to right now. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. Scott, we knew moves were coming.
Yep.
Definitely some moves by Zac Robinson having his imprint on this Bucs offense, and a defensive move as well.
Yeah, for sure. Pewter Report was the first to report that the Buccaneers have hired Marcus West as the defensive line coach. He was the Buffalo Bills line coach, and before that, he was the assistant defensive line coach in Buffalo. So spent several years up there. You think first-round pick, A.J. Epinesa, Gregory Rousseau, spent time with Von Miller up there, and then more recently, Joey Bosa. So he's had his share of developing and maintaining some really good pass rushers. Not maybe great pass rushers. Von Miller is certainly a great pass rusher, but not in the prime of his career. But getting the most out of some of those pass rushers, and of course Ed Oliver as well, right? Ed Oliver, 3 sacks in 3 games. The Bills' pass rush took a step back, much like Tampa Bay's pass rush took a step back because Ed Oliver only played in 3 games. Elijah Cansey in Tampa only played in 3 games. So there's some similarity there. It's interesting to note that Marcus West is a younger coach, 42 years of age. And we're seeing on Todd Bowles' staff, we're expected to see a couple of other moves that we'll get to in a second. But what I'm in favor of, and Matt, I think you and I talked about this as well. I think you're in favor of it as well. A little bit more youth on the staff, a little bit more energy on the defensive side. Larry Foote is a 45-year-old coach. Mike Caldwell's in his early 50s. But this is a younger position coach, younger than Charlie Strong, who was in his 60s. Mm-hmm. I like youth because usually youth has energy in terms of coaching, and I want an energetic defensive line coach, and I think that's more of what Marcus West will bring to the table. Interestingly enough, Marcus West spent several years at the University of Charlotte, where he was the pass rush coach and the assistant head coach and the defensive coordinator, co-defensive coordinator for the Miners, or I should say the 49ers, the Charlotte 49ers. And they produced 2 very good edge rushers in college. One of those transitioned exceptionally well to the pros. Talking about Alex Highsmith, the 3rd-round pick. He was the leading career sacker with 20 sacks at Charlotte, and he played alongside Marquise Watts, who ended up in Tampa. Has not had the success as a pass rusher in Tampa, has been a special teams guy. But Marquise Watts, under Marcus West's development, wound up setting the career school record with 21.5 sacks. So there's a little bit of familiarity. Does that help Marquise Watts maybe get another look-see in Tampa as a depth piece? It might.
Maybe. It at least gives them a training camp.
It doesn't help. Yeah, it doesn't help at all. Or it doesn't hurt, I should say.
Yeah.
It might help. So Marcus West is the newest hire there. We're expecting, and this has not been official, but we're expecting the moves to be made. Rashad Johnson, who was the assistant defensive backs coach that worked with the nickelbacks in Tampa, to replace Kevin Ross. That's not been official, but sources tell us that is something that is likely to happen. Actually, Rashad Johnson is here in Mobile coaching the American cornerbacks for the American team. The way the NFL used to do it used to be they would pick 2 coaching staffs, and those teams would come to Mobile and coach. Now what they do is they mix it up, taking a lot of assistants, defensive and offensive coaches, assembling kind of an all-star NFL coaching roster. And Rashad Johnson is one of those coaches. Also, Jeff Castle, who is the assistant tight ends coach in Tampa. He is the tight ends coach here as well at the Senior Bowl. But we're expecting this move. Also, Tim Atkins, who is the assistant defensive backs coach, helping Nick Rapone. Rapone was going to be let go. He opted to retire at age 69. Atkins has worked with Todd Bowles dating back to his days at the Jets, coming up as a defensive quality control coach. And so Atkins has worked alongside Rapone in Tampa. Rashad Johnson is 40. Tim Atkins is in his 40s. So, Matt, we're seeing a lot of younger coaches on that defensive side of the ball for Todd Bowles.
There's no doubt the Bucs need an influx of youth on the defensive side, even if it's just to, one, relate with the players who are obviously at a younger age with these younger coaches in their 40s, and two, to rile them up a little bit more and give different ideas. And maybe you're not necessarily getting that with some in-house hires, but like Marcus West, at least you can say this is a coach that has seen success in the NFL with Buffalo making deep playoff runs. They haven't gotten as far as they wanted to, but he at least has like all of that experience, even at a young age, going deep into the playoffs, finding success, winning games, winning division titles, but earning division titles, not like the way that the Bucs have. And then, Rashad Johnson, we were watching him a lot, especially yesterday at the Senior Bowl. I mean, what great reps is it for him to coach these college level players with the understanding that he could be the cornerbacks coach, and then obviously wants to work his way, up the flagpole as well. And I'm not gonna say he was like screaming, yelling and stuff like that, but he was motivating these guys after every single rep, going up to the cornerbacks.
Good energy.
And yes, good energy, talking about hand placement. Obviously we can't hear every single thing that's going on, but legitimately standing next to each player, talking to them, giving advice on this, on that, on this. So it was really cool to see how in tune he was with the players and knowing that he's going to take that with Tampa Bay with the quarterback's job as well.
Yeah, and I think, too, when you look at Rashad Johnson, he's worked primarily with the nickels, whereas Kevin Ross would coach the entire cornerback room. And they really haven't had a dedicated nickels coach, but he's been that nickelback coach. He's been the guy that's kind of been charged with that responsibility for the last 3 years. Well, who have been those players the last 3 years? Undrafted free agent Christian Izien got off to a good start his rookie season with games with back-to-back interceptions. He went wire to wire as a starter, and then they said, "All right, we want a little bit more of an upgrade from a talent and playmaking standpoint." So then the Bucs spent a third-round draft pick on Tyke Smith, who comes in, wins that job right away as a rookie, and has a better season than Christian Izien did under Rashad Johnson's watch. Then Todd Bowles, Tyke Smith say, let's move me to the safety position to replace Jordan Whitehead. So the Buccaneers draft another nickel, Jacob Parrish. Also, they found the gem as an undrafted free agent, and J.J. Roberts. Both those guys were kind of going toe-to-toe, but being developed by Rashad Johnson. And we saw Jacob Parrish have a couple of interceptions, has a lot of promise as an up-and-coming cornerback in this team. Was what on the all-rookie team as well?
Yes, he was.
So I think his work speaks for itself. 3 years, 3 different rookie corners come in, an undrafted free agent, a pair of third-round picks, and Rashad Johnson has got these guys ready to play right away. So I do like the body of work there. Again, it has not been named that these players are going to, or these coaches are going to be promoted, but is the expectation based upon what I've heard that it is likely that these moves will happen. Does it mean that they're going to happen? No, but we're saying it's likely that it could happen. Wouldn't be surprised if it were to occur. These are coaches that Todd Bowles obviously knows, that have been on the staff for some time, that he's familiar with. They know the defense. It would seem like it would be a seamless transition.
No doubt about it. And I don't know how I feel about in-house hires just based on how bad the defense was, but I'm intrigued by Marcus West, what he can kind of bring to this defensive line that needs a little bit of a facelift overall, along with the edge rushers, even though it's a different position. But we shall see. It's definitely a new face on this defensive coaching staff, and I think that's good.
Yeah. A couple of moves that were made on the offensive side. TJ Yates is one of those people that was expected to come over from the Atlanta Falcons as the pass game coordinator. And that certainly has taken place. That was an expected move. Also, Ken Zampese, as an offensive assistant to help out in the passing game. He spent time with Baker Mayfield dating back to their time in Cleveland. So that's another Zac Robinson move, bringing Zampese over from Atlanta. And like Zac Robinson had some time with Baker Mayfield in LA, Zampese had some time with Baker Mayfield in Cleveland.
Yeah, his relationship with Baker precedes Robinson's relationship with Baker in LA. And he was only with Baker for one season. He was the quarterback's coach. And don't get it misconstrued, because when people hear that, they think, oh, he's only there for one season. Like, he must not have done a good job. With Baker as the starter his rookie season, remember, he didn't start right away. It was Tyrod Taylor that began, and then he got injured and Baker took over. So Baker played in 14 games. He started in 13 of them. He threw for 3,725 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions to have a 6-7 record. So obviously not like spectacular, but not too bad when you look at the Cleveland Browns and what they've been as an organization throughout the years. The reason why he was only there for one season is because Hugh Jackson was the head coach.
Right.
The year before, they did not win a game. That's why they got the first pick and was able to draft Baker. So the Browns had just had it with Hugh Jackson and the job he did as a head coach.
Right.
And as we know, when a new coach comes in, typically he brings in his own guys as well. So that's why he was only there for 1 year, but did a solid job with Baker Mayfield. And then went to Atlanta with Zac Robinson.
Yeah.
TJ Yates, the Yates of hell, as everybody knows, has 2 career playoff starts, primarily a backup in the NFL, but had a couple of starts in his career. I think it's good to have another quarterback with a lot more NFL experience, reading defenses, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. So I think this is only a good addition for Baker Mayfield, but certainly shows the input that Zac Robinson is going to have with his coaching staff.
That's right. And then when you look at the other hire that was made, there was a vacancy when Brian Picucci left Tampa Bay to go to Jacksonville to reunite with Liam Cohen there. They had worked together back at UMass, at Kentucky, and then, of course, here in Tampa. And so this is someone that Zac Robinson went way back with his connections to.
Yeah.
And this is Andrew Mitchell,
I love this photo.
Who's given it to this New Mexico State quarterback. But he was an offensive lineman at Oklahoma State when Zac Robinson was a quarterback.
Yes. Yeah, so they were teammates at Oklahoma State, and then he's coached in the college ranks ever since. Some very interesting stops along the way. He was with Houston as a graduate assistant, spent time with North Carolina and TCU. Then his big jump really was becoming the offensive line coach at Indiana State. Then he became the offensive coordinator for a junior college called Snow College. It's a junior college in Utah. Spent 2 years there. The second year he was with Snow, there was a couple forfeits in there, so it kind of like screws up the overall points per game. But they led all of junior college with 6.7 yards per rushing attempt and 23.1 first downs per game. So he was getting that offense moving. Then he went back to TCU. Then his big gig really is with New Mexico State, where you saw him screaming at the player right there. He was the O-line coach in 2022 and 2023. Then was the assistant head coach, along with being the O-line coach in 2024. Then last season, 2025, went to his alma mater, went back to Oklahoma State. Although things didn't work out too great, Oklahoma State was 1-11. Mike Gundy got fired after a 1-2 record, and they did not win a game ever since. So he's going to get to work with Kevin Carberry. It's his first run as a coach in the NFL, as an assistant coach, but certainly a lot of different stops along the way. A big guy, played offensive lineman, played 1 year in the NFL, and then was on some practice squads and stuff like that. So clearly a connection with Zac Robinson. Seems like he's pretty intense based on that photo right there, but intrigued to see what he will bring to the table for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the news right now. We're still looking for a quarterbacks coach. I think that's the one vacancy that's left on this coaching staff right now. Again, it's not been official that Tim Atkins and Rashad Johnson have been promoted, but that is our expectation based upon some things that we've heard. But again, not set in stone. So there could be some other moves made instead. But that's what we're hearing from Mobile, Alabama. And again, we reported on Marcus Westbrook breaking that story. Something that I had for a day or two and just waiting to get confirmation, and got it this morning. So We have a super chat here from Kahunaville, Matt.
Yes, thank you, Kahunaville, for this $1.99. Says, do you think McDermott is interested? McDermott's interest was to be the successor.
You mean Sean McDermott, obviously.
Yeah.
There was some talk that Todd Bowles wanted him on his staff as a consultant. I think when you're of a stature of someone like Sean McDermott, when you're a head coach, I don't think you want to go all the way down to a consultant level position. Not that Sean McDermott wouldn't be fast tracked to becoming a head coach, say next year, but I don't know. Maybe he would consider a defensive coordinator position. I just don't see how that would work necessarily. I think Todd Bowles probably wanted that because he was available. I don't know how Sean McDermott would want to come in and have to run somebody else's defense or be involved in that.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott would probably have his own ideas. From what I've heard, Todd sometimes is not open to new ideas. Todd has his own way of doing things, and that's his prerogative. He's the head coach and the defensive coordinator. It's his defense. But I think Todd kind of comes up with the ideas, and then those filter out to his staff. That's kind of the flow chart, the way that it's operated here. So I would prefer, if I'm a defensive coordinator or an offensive coordinator, bring new ideas to the table.
No, for sure.
Right?
That's the right idea, but that's not the Todd idea. And like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird too, because what, you're just going to hire all of these former head coaches that beat Todd Bowles every time they play? Like Zac Robinson's 3-1 against Todd Bowles as far as when he was offensive coordinator with the Falcons. McDermott beat him this year with the Bills. The Bills defeated Todd Bowles and the Bucs on Thursday Night Football 2 seasons ago. Like, you bring in all these coaches that probably have a better say at the head coaching job than Todd does.
Yeah, exactly. Comment here from Naresh Khan. I don't like the idea of on in-house hires for defensive backs coaches. I don't want anybody that has any connection to Bowles coaching defense need outside voices like West. Well, they had to go outside for the Marcus West hire. There wasn't anybody inside to promote for that position. But in this case, there is. And again, I don't know what type of coach Tim Atkins can be, because there has not been that independent realm in which he's operated. It's basically been Nick Rapone has been the safeties coach. Tim Atkins has kind of been the helper, right? But with Rashad Johnson having kind of exclusivity on the nickels, getting one or two players ready outside of what Kevin Ross would do with the rest of the cornerbacks, we've kind of seen the fruits of the labor there. We've seen that process work out really well in each of the last 3 years, taking 3 rookies and getting them ready to start game one. And essentially they were wire-to-wire starters. So I think that gives me some hope that Rashad Johnson, as what Matt said too, at the Senior Bowl, we've seen him be a lot more vocal, a lot more encouraging, bringing energy.
Yeah.
And you really couldn't do that when Kevin Ross was the cornerbacks coach, because you don't upstage your boss, right?
Yeah, I agree with the overall premise of the previous comment about in-house, but like the coaching staff has been so bad. But when you break it down to the fact that he's gotten the best out of these nickel corners, from Christian Izzy to Tyke Smith to Jacob Parrish, it's a little bit different than just an overarching in-house hire type of thing. So it is a little bit different. I understand the point, but I'm more optimistic about Rashad Johnson than I think I would be in other scenarios for Tampa Bay.
Retro Vega Gaming, what are your all's thoughts on the Mike Evans reports? I'm going to be sharing some of those reports in my SR's Fab 5 column tomorrow. I actually talked to Tony Pauline, about that, and is there a world where Mike Evans doesn't return to Tampa? Yeah, there is. And I'll address that tomorrow in SR's Fab 5. I've got some thoughts on it, but I really want to kind of marinate on those thoughts before I just kind of rattle off the top of my head here, because I want to be delicate about this. This is a legend. This is a first ballot Hall of Famer. This is the best offensive player in franchise history. This is, for some of you, he's a Mount Rushmore guy.
Yeah.
And just kick off either Leroy or Rondé or Derek or Warren. Kick off one of those guys and put him on there. That's fine. That's your prerogative. It's your Mount Rushmore list. But that's the level of player we're talking about here. Do I see him retiring? I don't think so. Will he return to Tampa? I think there's a chance. Is there a chance that Mike Evans plays somewhere else? I think there's a chance. But what percentages? I'll get into that in tomorrow's SR's Fab 5. I don't think that Mike is done playing football. I think that he will play. But is it a lock that he returns to Tampa? Not this year, but we'll see. And I'll get more into my reasoning tomorrow in SR's Fab 5. Sorry for the cliffhanger, but I'm literally writing it. We did this emergency podcast, so I don't want to give away the column before I have a chance to finish the column, but check that out.
So make sure you check out the Fab 5 coming out tomorrow. A lot of Mike Evans conversation about it. And in the meantime, if you're not already doing so, please follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We're at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. Please like and subscribe. Leave a comment on this video what you think about the new assistant coaching hires, or feel free to talk about Mike Evans too. That's it for this emergency podcast. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you soon for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.